I'm just going to go through these, and it's just the slides that we've just gone through there. So what I'd like you to do, I'm not going to labour on this because obviously you can have a look at this on the webinar later and come back to this, but just mark yourselves out of 10 for each of the following. Are you a market leader in your chosen profession? Do you have a solid, strong network that refers you and you refer to them? Do you engage with others through social media? How is your customer service? Do you feel that you're getting, you've got a good customer service? Are your customers now your marketing team, as I explained with that continuum? Are you making best use of technology that's around? And do you, so the dashboards, the social media dashboards, and do you check, test, revise, and continue that process? Because it is a continuous process. Some do's and don'ts of social media, and then we'll get onto the strategy and planning bit after this. So just some ideas of what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing on social media. And before we start, we'll just go through some things to consider. So Facebook influences more than half of people's online and offline buying decisions. 2.8 billion global social media users in 2017, so it's obviously a massive market. 95% of adult social media users aged between 18 and 34 are most likely to follow a brand on social media. So they will follow a brand, so they'll follow somebody on, if you've got a brand out there, they will follow that. But 96% of people that discuss brands online do not follow those brands' social media. So that's interesting because you get some people, you've got a lot of people who will they will follow social media brands, but then you've got also a lot of people who discuss brands, but they don't even follow those brands on social media. And what I'm trying to say there is don't get too hung up on if people don't like or follow you on social media. Chances talking about you, they just haven't liked your page, for example, followed you on Twitter, it might be, but they will still discuss you. So 71% of consumers who have a good social media presence with a brand are likely to recommend to others. So if they've had a good customer service experience, they will recommend you to other people because you are in their mind's eye. They are sort of thinking about you. And one thing that I think is really important, we still, to this day and age, people buy from people. And what I find really interesting with that, I used to work in a bank years ago, and when I first worked in the bank, which is many months ago, we were all about our customer service experience. Customer was central to what we did. And then as we came into the sort of mid-70s and into the 80s, it was all about targets. We need to make this target, that target. And it was all about sell, sell, sell. And it's interesting that in the last few years, when I'm speaking to ex-colleagues in the bank, and they've sort of said, actually, it's complete turnaround, and now it's all about the customer experience. And they're very much aware that it's the people behind the tills or the people behind the desks in the reception area that are the crucial point to people making that decision as to whether they will use that bank and it's the same for every other business, every other service. And you can think about it yourself, what makes it great for you is probably the people rather than the actual brand itself. The brand is important. The brand is important to be a good, strong brand, but it's also the people that's within that as well. And buyers are influenced by people they don't even know. As I said in a previous slide, the Amazon effect, we are all influenced by people we don't know. It's the same with TripAdvisor. I know it's probably not going to be a benefit, something that's used by some of you guys on the webinar, but we do look to see what other people have said. They'll look at your reviews on your Facebook page. They will want to make an informed choice, and it will be by people that they don't even know. So just hold that in mind. So things to focus on and what to do and what not to do. Focus activities on low entry points. When promoting a service, business, or even a bit, then it's about, you're never going to really get people to buy into something that's 10 grand, for example. They're more likely to take a small pixie step, if you like, to trying a product or a service out from you and then making a decision to then upsell onto further products. So it's kind of getting people through the door in the first place, if you like. So you know, it needs to be a low barrier to entry. So it's like, well, I'm going to test it out. I'm going to try it out and see if I like this. It's the same for us. We often get people who they might sort of access one of the online resources that we've got on the website, or they might go onto some of the webinars or go onto the open workshops, and then from that we'll get people who want to work with us on a one-to-one basis. We're the same, and the reason that we do those workshops and low entry points is because we want people to get to know, like, and trust us, so that then we can hopefully, if they're interested enough, they'll look at working with us further and doing more social media with us. Find ways to get people to know more about you. So you know, it helps people, as I said, to you know, to get to know you more through a low entry point, because they're making a decision at that point. Do I like this business? Do I want to spend more with them? So it does give them the opportunity to do that. I would say educate people through case studies. So if you've worked with people in the past, use that experience to showcase how you've worked with people, and again, people will make that decision through other people's viewpoint of working with you. And explain how you have a unique solution to their specific challenge. What's your USP, basically? You know, what makes you different to everybody else that's out there? As I say, and I can only speak for our own experience, so the one thing that we've really focused on is our personality, let's say, of getting across the people behind the business, because we know that works for us. We see lots of social media agencies and digital agencies who kind of hide behind their social media. You have no idea who the team is working behind that. I personally don't feel that's the best way to work. I think for us, our USP is our personality that we put out there, and we know that that works for us. And start to build a marketing funnel. We haven't really talked about this much to this point, but you know, do any of you have where you can build an online funnel through your website? Often what we do is we're using social media. Well, let's start at the point of what we do is we put something on the website. So we might put a new blog out on the website. We take that URL, that link, and we post it onto social media to draw traffic back to the website, so people can see all the other things that we do. But we also have there's a bar across the website that's encouraging people to put their first name, last name, and email address in, and for that exchange you get a one-page you know, top tips, or it's 7 deadly advocates, or 7 deadly sins of social media. And what we're doing there is we're encouraging people to sign up for our e-newsletter, because we know that some people might not be at the point of wanting to engage with social media in a big way right now. But if we can keep them warmed up, let's say, and when the time is right for them to engage with social media, then that marketing funnel is going to help with that process. So try and get people into your email campaigns, but don't send loads of information out that's going to be too much for them. Make it nice and snappy, short and sweet, something that people can quickly read over a coffee or something. So don't put too much information in those. And learn about marketing automation. We've just recently started doing some chatbots for businesses. So what we're doing there is, if we've got businesses that get the same questions asked time and time again, you can set up a chatbot which will answer those questions for you, so you're not having to do that. But you know, obviously be open and honest about that. Let people know that it's an automated system, but it does take a little bit of the sort of day-to-day grungy stuff, if you like, out of your process. So you can do that quite easily. You might need to use social media to build an email list and for the low entry offers and then upsell, so as I've said earlier. And I know it's something that Georgia uses a system that that helps with that process to get people through that continuum, if you like. So it's a really good way of thinking about, you know, well, what can I offer that's a small short entry point, and then getting people into other levels, let's say. Okay, do identify and focus on relevant social media. We've put LinkedIn there, but it's about working out which social media platforms are going to work for you. LinkedIn probably is going to work for most business professionals, if I'm honest. It's more of a B2B, business to business platform, but LinkedIn is very much used for you know, when people are searching for particular skills, let's say. So if you've got particular skills, then put those in your social media, particularly in your LinkedIn, because people will search within LinkedIn. And if you haven't got those keywords in there and somebody else does that's you know, comparable to you in terms of the service that they offer, they're more likely to find your competitor than you. So make sure you're optimizing your LinkedIn to the max. We'll be doing another webinar on LinkedIn specifically, so look out for that when it comes in, and then we can show you how to optimize your LinkedIn profile and how to use LinkedIn to your benefit. So as it says there, max out your LinkedIn profile and your company page. Stick to the rules of 7. What I mean by that is, and we've also talked about, and we will be doing it again, another webinar on this. So, you know, the more people that see your brand, and it's now classed as, you know, rule of 7, if people see your brand 7 times, they're more likely to remember it. So this is the whole point of getting your social media out there, so that people see your brand repetitively, and then you become in their mind's eye when they're thinking of your service. Be on multiple social media sites, but what I'm saying there is, and I've said it before, you know, it's not about being on every single media site. It's about choosing wisely which social media sites to put your efforts in, let's say. And as it says on the first bullet point there, all social media sites are not equal. It is very much choosing the ones that that are relevant to your business, not all of them. And repurpose your message across social media sites. As I've said, you know, what we often do is we might put something up on Facebook and we take that and we put it up onto Google+. Obviously, you can't take the same copy that's on Facebook and put it onto Twitter, because they're quite different. And do not put the same, you know, so we get some people who they put it up on Twitter and then it's shared into Facebook. Please don't do that. All that you're doing there really is you're using Twitter language in Facebook, and people just will not engage with that. It's pointless. So it's a bit like, you know, being in England and talking French. You're talking a different language. So use Twitter language in Twitter, Facebook language in Facebook, and don't link the two together. And use creative tools and platforms to generate interesting visual content. Again, we'll be doing a webinar on branding, and we'll talk about some of the creative tools that you can use and some of the apps that you can use to create content, and they're very, very easy to use, very simple. It's just being aware of them, really. So, okay, another do is integrate email, website, and social media. So as it indicates here, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. So, oops, sorry, just press the button there. So using your social media to drive traffic to your website, and then building that email campaign, that means that then you can send out emails on a regular basis, but not too often. And again, every business is going to be different. We probably send an email campaign out about once a month. Some do it more regularly, some don't do it as regular as that. It's entirely up to you. You know, don't do it too often, because you'll lose people in the process, I think. Don't assume it's a numbers game. We've seen businesses in the past where they've got so hung up on how many likes they've got on Facebook, how many followers they've got on Twitter, etc., etc. but they're not authentic. So they've bought them, or they're not engaging with the actual Facebook page or the Twitter account, so they're pointless. It's just noise. We've recently went over the 1,000 mark on our Facebook page, and we're very proud and sort of just keen to say that those 1,000 plus Facebook likes, we haven't bought any of those. They're all organic ones. They're all ones where if we've been out to a workshop, I've done a webinar, or just met people, or people have talked about us, people have liked our Facebook page. And so I'd rather have those likes than just thousands of likes that are never going to talk to us on social media. So although you can automate stuff, which is fine, just don't get hung up on the numbers. And again, don't overtly sell. What we see often on social media is lots of sales posts. If social media was about selling, it will be called sell media or sales media, and it's not. It's called social media. It's called social media for a reason. It's about building connections with people and building relations with people so they become familiar with you. Yes, you can promote, and I'm not saying don't sell, but the selling aspect of social media should be a small element of it. It's more about promotion than selling. So for example, we might, like yesterday, we put a post out about delivering a workshop. So because we were showcasing that we were there, we don't often say, book onto our latest open workshop. We will do it on occasions, or our latest webinar, but we don't do it too often. What we'll probably say is, we met some really interesting people on our workshop today, and we'll showcase what we do and promote what we do rather than selling it. So hopefully that kind of explains, you don't really want to be selling too much, because it's a bit like if you go networking, if you meet somebody face to face, the last thing you would do, and I'm sure you hate this as much as I do, if somebody comes up to you and goes, oh, hi, if I introduce myself to you and, hi, I'm Janet, we do social media training, we do social media account management, we can help you with all your social media needs. I haven't even got to know you, and yet I'm just talking about social media straight off. Straight away, you kind of be backing off and thinking, oh my God, she's a bit full on. We don't do that when we meet people. What we tend to do is build a relationship with somebody first. We might say, how did you get here? Have you had tea and coffee yet? I don't know. You just have a general conversation rather than it going straight into the sell. And then as you build a relationship with somebody, when you're meeting somebody at a networking event, you'll gradually and naturally ask, okay, so what is it that you do? And then they'll ask you, what is it that you do? And you build that rapport with people that way, rather than going straight into sales mode. So just think about using social media the way that you would if you were networking anyway.
I think you told me, Janet, many years ago, that when posting on like Facebook or Twitter, maybe every 10 posts that you put something out to say promote a course or something. Yeah. But like you say, it's a way of doing it. But it may be a promotional or even a newsletter. But there's the majority of it. The other 9, for example, are more social things. Yeah. Same.
And we often, we also soften it down a little bit. So we'll put something like, did you know we've got an open workshop on such and such a date? If you need to upskill yourself, maybe have a look at booking on. So we're very softly with it. It's not a buy now type thing. And also one thing I didn't mention in that is, when we do an email campaign, we tend to put 3 elements in the email campaigns. So we'll put something about what we're doing in the next week or 2. So the one that we're about to send out, it will tell we're to a conference this next week. So it'll probably be, We've got 2 conferences coming up in the next two weeks. We're excited to be presenting there and exhibiting there. The next bit down might be a salesy type thing, so it'll be like, did you know that we do one-to-one training, or it could be open workshops or anything like that. It could be account management, just something that's more about the products and services that we offer. And then the third bit down will be something that's more friendly about the team. So it might be, you know, Lisa's now been working with us for 2 months and is really getting to grips with how we work as a business. Or it could be, we're excited that Esther's coming back next week for a day and a half to help us with the conferences. So it's something more about us as a team, really, and as a business. So there's 3 elements to it, and we always keep it to that, so that it's not overloading, there's not too much information, but there's something that's informative, there's something that's salesy, and there's something that's about us as a team. So that's just that's how we do it. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's just, we find that works for us, and we're not overloading people.
Sounds good.
Okay, so again, just to retract, you know, go back on those few steps and just to get you thinking about these. So do you share your case studies? Do you educate? Do you share how you solve a challenge? Have you optimized your LinkedIn profile, or any, you know, it says LinkedIn profile, but it could be most of your social media platforms, well, all of your social media platforms need to be optimized. We often find when we look at social media, it's one of those, you don't know what you don't know, and you'll probably think that you've done a really great job, but chances are you haven't. So we do reviews and optimization of social media sites, because when we look at social media, we can straight away see where the gaps are, let's say, and it's really important that you make sure you are optimizing, getting the right keywords in your social media accounts, because that's going to help you get found, and it's really key that you put the right words in there. So, and often this is where a lot of businesses, I guess they get it wrong in some respects, is what they do is they put the words in that they would class themselves as opposed to the words that somebody would search for. And we'll come to this when we come into the strategy and planning, but it's really important that you are asking your clients, what would you say that we do? Because the words that you use might not be the words that somebody looking for your service or your product would particularly search for. So it's really crucial that you ask those words. How many social media sites are you on, and do you follow the rule of 7? So as in, you know, don't overload yourself with all the social media sites, choose wisely. If you're not on any social media at the moment, maybe choose 2 and get going with those. Do not get set up on loads, because all that you'll do is you'll get overloaded and then you'll do nothing. I've seen it happen so many times before. And follow the rule of 7, so making sure that people are seeing your brand out there and getting familiar with you as a business and how you post. Are you building a following and encouraging sign-ups of email campaigns? Again, as I say there, it's about, so people might not always be ready to take that leap of faith and use your product, your service. But if you build an email campaign, you're just keeping people warmed up so that when the time is right for them, they're going to get in touch with you and kind of go, right, I need to do that, whatever it is. We've had people a year later contact us and say, right, you know, that social media training that you mentioned, I'm ready to go with that now. So we've had somebody do that just, in fact, in the last 2 weeks, somebody did that. We gave them the prices and everything. It's just short of a year ago, and they've just come back to us and said, we're ready to go with that now. So it's about people, you know, people keeping connected with you. And are your followers genuine, or are they just numbers? Don't go for the numbers, keep it genuine. There's no point in having numbers for numbers' sake. I think in the past what's happened is a lot of businesses have wanted those high numbers to be seen as somebody that's very credible. But I think people have got wise to that, and they're probably looking at posts. We do it all the time. We look to see, okay, so they've got high numbers, but what's their engagement? How many people are actually talking with them? And if it's very low, then it's just like, well, they're just numbers for numbers' sake. I'd rather have engagement over numbers.
Janet, do you remember when we set up the Surfer page? And soon after that, or sometime after that, Stuart, my husband, set up his
I do, yeah.
And how he thought he was so much better than we were, because we were getting you know, a handful of people a week signing up, and he was getting tens, dozens and dozens and dozens, and thinking he's so much more popular and so excited. And really all it is that because he's in agriculture, people were liking, you know, wanted to join to come and look at his photos and videos of him working in the fields and things. But he doesn't get work from it.
No, exactly. So, and that's really, that's an important point. I think that there are a lot of people that they want that social engagement. So they'll, you know, whether you like it or not, and we have a similar sort of thing with a business that we do the social media for. They sell car parts, and they've got a really lovely, strong audience around them. They get loads. If they put something up about cars, they get loads of people talking about it. And it'll be same with Stuart, with you know, with tractors and with farming machinery. There's that community, let's say, around that, which is good. But you're right, is, you know, are they the right people? Are they the people that want to buy your services? Probably not. So it's about making sure that you're getting the right messages out there for the right reason to encourage the right followers. So yeah.
He still likes to brag, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, clearly. Okay, so now to the basic social media strategy and planning. So we're going to go through some stages here, and what I'd like you to do is start to think, and we'll have a summary at the end as well. But really, what we want you to do now is be thinking about your own strategy, your own planning, and where are you in each of these stages, and start to build a basic strategy and planning for social media. This isn't a marketing strategy, it's just how are you going to use social media. And what we find often with businesses is and individuals, professionals, they get on social media because everybody else is on social media, therefore I need to be on social media. And yes, you do, but if you haven't decided why you're there in the first place, all it will be is noise. All it will be is you posting, you know, information on there, but not actually understanding what am I trying to achieve from this? Why am I using social media? It's a bit like picking up a phone and not really knowing what you're going to say when you pick that phone up to speak to a prospect. If you don't know what you're expecting as an outcome, you're not going to get the result. So, and we see this all the time where people are on social media, but they've never really thought about, well, why am I there? What am I trying to achieve? What's the reason that I'm putting my effort into this social media? What do I want to get as a direct result of being on social media? Often, what we're trying to do is drive traffic back to the website where all our products and services are. And that should be one of your main sort of goals, if you like, is if you're putting something on social media, your social media really is there to wrap around your website. It's there to, basically what you're doing is you're talking in places where people want to talk to you. So they'll want to talk to you on social media, but then it's about driving traffic back to your website, and then people finding out, all right, I also do this and that and all those kind of things. And it's also about, again, back to that branding of making sure that everything, there's synergy within it. So if you were to look at my Facebook page or look at our Twitter account or Instagram, they all have our branding across it. So straight away, you know, we've come to the right place. So step one, what's your aims and objectives? What do you want to achieve? And so these are just some examples of what you might want to achieve. And you might choose one or two of these. You might have completely different aims and objectives, but if you don't know what they are, then you're not going to get the results. So is it brand awareness? Is it as simple as we want to get ourselves out there so people become familiar with us as a business? They get to know us on a regular basis because they're seeing our posts, our updates, our notifications. So is it as simple as brand awareness? And for a lot of businesses, yes, it is. It's just a case of, we're here, this is who we are, this is what we do. So it's as simple as that. Is it traffic to your website? Is it you wanting to build a link back to the website so people can see everything that you do? They know about other products and services. So yes, as I've said already, social media is about being social, not about selling. But if you're driving traffic to the website, that's where all your products and services are going to be. That's where people can see what it is that you do. And if you're talking about one thing, one element in social media, then it means that people can come to your website and say, gosh, I didn't know they did all these things as well. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Is it to build an email campaign list? So is it a building a list so you can keep people warmed up and you can keep people connected with your business and people knowing about you? So is that one of your objectives? Is that one of your key reasons for using social media? Is it about community engagement? So, and often what we'll start out with, so right now, one of your aims and objectives might be, okay, right now I want to build brand awareness. I want people to know that we're here, but within 3 months, I want to build an email list, and within another 3 months, or it could be sooner than that, I want to now build a community around our business. So if that is one of your objectives, you know, it's understanding, knowing I've set that as an objective within my social media, that I want to build that community engagement. If I'm honest, I think that's exactly where Georgie is right now. So she's done the brand awareness bit. We've drawn traffic to the website and used social media in that way. We've already started that building email list. So Georgie's done quite a lot of these. And so now it's about building that community engagement, getting people engaged and talking in Georgie's SERPA sort of practitioner environment. Is it about content distribution? Is it about sharing information out there so that it's letting people know what kind of things you talk about? So is it as simple as getting information out into social media world about the sorts of things that you do? Is it more sales and lead generation? So are you building your social media to generate those leads so that people are aware of the sorts of things that you do? Or is it about customer support? Are you showcasing this customer engagement and the customer journey that you are offering? Or is it for some other reason? There's loads of different reasons. And one of the things that we're going to be doing in terms of webinars, we're going to be doing a webinar on Facebook and Instagram advertising. And we'll go into these aims and objectives much more, and I can showcase the different objectives that Facebook have identified as being the key objectives of when setting up an advert, and I can show you a way of doing an advert that means it's a very, very structured way, and it means that rather than just putting something out on social media and then deciding, well, what do I want it to achieve, it's about, you know, working out from the very onset, what do I want to achieve from my social media. So it's very similar to this. So do think about, you know, why am I using social media? What do I want to get out of it? The next step is thinking about who's your target audience. So who do you want as, you know, who would buy your services? Who is an ideal customer for you? So if you're talking, you know, basic marketing principles, a marketer would ask you to create a persona. Where do they live? How old are they? What do they do for a living? What do they look like? What's their family arrangements? It's all those kind of things. And just really building a portfolio of somebody that in your mind's eye is the perfect client for you. Now, you'll have had clients already anyway, so it's kind of, some of it is looking back at your client base and thinking, yeah, we usually work with people between such an age, such and such an age, and such an age. They're probably, I don't know, I'm guessing here, so I don't know, 60% female, 40% male. So it's all those kind of thinking about who is your target audience, who's your ideal client, and write a list of all the different types of businesses or people that would benefit from your service. So what kind of people, you know, for me, particularly with the service that Georgia offers, you know, when you think about stress related sort of illnesses, let's say, so You'll get people who are in high profile businesses that are very stressed, but you'll also get people that are out of work that are very stressed. So there is a wide range of audiences, and it's thinking about those people that would benefit from your services. Step 3 is who's a source of referral, which is completely different to your target audience. Your target audience, for example, might be people that use Facebook as an example, but a source of referral might be a business or an individual that's on LinkedIn. So they're two different things. And often what we do is we look at our client base, so who's an ideal customer, but we forget who's the source of referral. Where's the route to market? Who can we engage with that's going to bring us to those individuals that are our customer base at the end of the day? So it's that sometimes is different. So when I talked about earlier about Oliver, who's a cake maker, he's a source of referral. He's not my target audience. He knows social media inside out and he uses it very well. He's never going to be a customer of mine, but he absolutely is a source of referral. So think about who do you already work with or engage with, and who do they come in contact that are your target audience. For example, in the case of the cake maker in Oliver, he knows lots of businesses in our location, and when he's out and about talking to people, he wants to engage with them on social media. And if they're not on social media, the first thing he'll say, well, if you want to get up to speed with social media, speak to Janet and Social Progress. They'll be able to help you with that. So he is a source of referral. So think about that, and don't get blinkered by your end user, let's say. Just think a little bit outside the box and think about who do you already work with, who engages with you, that work with your target audience. And write a list of all the different types of business and people that you would come into contact that will come into contact with your target audience. Step 4 is deciding which platforms to use. Where do your target audience and your sources of referrals talk online? And as I say, that could be slightly different. It might be the same, but decide which platforms you're going to engage with, start with. As I said before, don't overload yourself. You might choose to just do 2 social media platforms. It could be if you're okay with a couple, then building that more in. And as I say, it might be it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and then not actually using the other ones just at this moment in time, just focusing on those for the time being to try and start with that process. Step 5 is what are your keywords, which is really important. Make a list of all the keywords to search and phrases to listen out for. So what should you be listening out for that people are talking about? You're only really going to get this from asking people that are already engaging with you, what words would you use to describe what I do? Which will be, it may be different to what you would describe yourself as being anyway. So, but ask those questions and then make searches, do searches for those keywords or those phrases. And a great tip, if I can give you a great tip on this one, is set up some Google Alerts. Again, free to use. Google Alerts means you can set so that Google will search. You can do it on a daily basis. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I'd probably recommend you have a Google search that searches for a keyword or a key phrase. And once a week, what you'll get is an email that comes into your inbox that'll tell you the latest updates based around that keyword or that phrase. For example, we have Google Alerts that are set up for the word Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube. And we also have a phrase we listen out for. So we do what we class as a Boolean search, which has got speech marks on either side of the phrase. So we look out for the phrase social progress. If we didn't do the Boolean search, it would search for the word social and progress. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is just find where it says the phrase social progress. And so we'll get a snapshot of what's being talked about around social progress. and it will give you everything that's been talked about from that week to the next week when you get that email through. Dead easy to use, dead easy to set up, and it just means that you're able to find out what's being talked about online, and it shows you as an industry expert when you're doing that. But have that as part of your strategy as well. So write a list of all the keywords that you could search for and reach out and reach for your target audience. But also, these potentially are hashtags that you could use. So when you search for those words and you understand what people are looking for when they're looking for your services, then use these as hashtags in your post that you're putting out. So identify and make yourself a list of hashtags that you could use. Now, in some cases, not all, it's about finding hashtags and using hashtags that are industry related, but also location related. If your business is the type of business that your target audience are local to you, so you only use services where people need to meet with you on a one-to-one basis, it's about using the hashtags for that location. For example, we're from Huddersfield, so we might put hashtag social media training and hashtag Huddersfield. So there's two different parts of that. It's what we do and where we're located. And that's the same for you. So are your services defined by a location? If so, use a hashtag that's locational based, along with words that others would search for to find you. So think about what those are. Make sure those hashtags are used in your social media. As I've said before, LinkedIn, don't use hashtags. You'll still see some hashtags used in LinkedIn, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year LinkedIn changes that and they start to use hashtags, because they are used on virtually every other social media platform now. It's become almost a standard within social media. So, you know, include them, because they're ways that people can find you even when they don't know you. So identify what those hashtags are that you could use. And do you have a branded or business hashtag? For example, in our case, so Pro High Five. As I say, we often use that, and we're finding now that other people are, when they're talking to us, they're putting the hashtag, so Pro High Five, in their messages as well. So we're finding that's working, and it's building a connection around us as a business, as opposed to something that's more general, like social media training, for example. This is part of our social media strategy. We have a strategy that we don't use any rude words, but yours might be slightly different. If you're comfortable with using swear words, that's fine, that's your strategy. This is our strategy. We don't have any swearing. We don't have anything, we don't talk about anything political. We don't have anything that's religious debates, and we don't put down our competition. Those are our rules. Your rules might be slightly different, but it's having, you know, this step is about understanding as a business, what can you not do on social media? And this really is so that all of our team know that not that they would anyway, but that they can't swear on social media, that they don't get into political debates, that they don't talk about religion, and that they don't put down the competition. It's interesting that a couple of our team members are they go to church every Sunday. In fact, they go to church all throughout the week. So they are quite religious, but they know that this is not the time or place to talk about those things. So it's never brought into our social media. So it's not that we're anti-religious or anything. It's just that we know it's not appropriate within our social media to get into those conversations. It's nothing to do with what we do. And then step 8 is how much time are you investing in your social media? And I think, again, this is crucial. Social media is a tool, a platform to use to benefit your business. It's not something that you just do when you've got 5 minutes. It's not something that's just, you know, it's there. We might do it, we might not. Often, if you haven't got a strategy in place, then what happens is social media gets put to the bottom of the list and it doesn't get done. But you are investing in your social media. I think some of it is, the reason is because we probably use social media for our own personal benefit, we kind of get it a little bit not confused, but there's a fine line between, you know, when we're using it personally and when we're using it for a business purpose. And again, if I can get you to think about, you know, if you had a telephone in front of you on your desk, how much time are you going to invest in picking up that phone and ringing people, or doing an email? Or social media is just like any other communication tool. It's understanding how you're using it to your best effect. So understanding how much time you're going to invest in that process of using social media to support your business. And then who will do it? So is it going to be yourself? Are you managing your own social media? Will you be outsourcing your social media? So will you getting somebody else who's an expert in that field to do it on your behalf and paying for somebody to do it? Or will it be a mixture of the two? This works really well for us when we're working with clients. So we have some clients who do a little bit of their own social media, but then we do quite a lot of background work to support that as well. And it works really well, particularly if you've got a business that's more technically based or more specialism. So the more specialist the business is, the better it is if you can get a combination of the two. So we're posting out some general stuff and keeping up to date with social media and watching out for what's being said so we can highlight that to the client. But obviously we're not the expert in that field, so we need sometimes that expert to be on their social media themselves, or to at least have regular contact with us, so we know the type of thing that we should be talking about online. Okay, so that's the 9 steps, and what I'd like you to do is obviously thinking about all those. You know, what's your aims and objectives? Who's your target audience? Who would be a good source of referral? Which platforms do your customers use and your sorts of referrals use? What are the keywords to search for? What hashtags should you be using? And what can't you say on social media, which is as important as what you do say on social media? And how much time will you invest? And finally, who's going to be posting on your social media? And we've taken through this strategy there. In terms of the planning side of things, what we always recommend is you set like a calendar of what things you're going to be talking about on social media, because the strategy is the first part of it, getting that set up. But it's then often we get people go, right, well, I know what I'm trying to achieve. Now what do I talk about? And it's in the planning stage of that'll help you to generate that content. For example, and it might not be relevant to anybody here, you know, we've got Easter coming up. So what can we talk about that brings our social media out there in terms of Easter? So when we put our calendar together, we put all the different sort of events that are happening throughout the year. So Christmas, Easter, bonfire night, all the different ones that are general ones. And then we also build into our calendar things that are key events for us. So if we're going to particular conferences, they're featuring our calendar of events. So we're planning in, when do we need to speak about those, leading up to that, what can we speak about on the day, and what can we speak about beyond that. So it's about building a calendar, and that's your planning stage really. And it could be, again, not to overload yourself. You might go, right, well, we're going to do a blog every other month. Again, within the team here, what we do is we split that out, and we task each member of the team to do a blog. There's one blog that goes out once a month at least, but it's a different member of the team that will do those blogs. So we're making sure that as a team, we're all contributing to that content, let's say. But don't get yourself too hung up on planning too much in advance, because things will change. So always kind of be looking 3 months in advance, and what's happening in the next 3 months. What can we use in terms of content to put out on social media? What events have we got coming up? What are we doing? Some new webinars? Are we doing some new ways of working? Are we going to a particular conference? So it's those kind of things to be thinking about. So that's your social media strategy and your planning. hopefully we've covered in that, we've covered quite a lot. So we've covered why social media matters to your business, the importance of social media strategy, aims and objectives, which social media platforms to focus on and why, what are the business benefits to being on social media, looking at online customer service and some crisis management, do's and don'ts of social media for service businesses, and hopefully that's given you a really good grounding as to why you would want to use social media. Obviously, we are going to be doing some other webinars on different elements of social media, so do look out for those, and get yourself booked on those as well. And that's basically it. So hopefully you've enjoyed that and it's given you lots of information to think about. Thank you for being on the webinar.
Great. Thank you very much, Janet. That's fantastic. And I know at least this will get people ready and planning before they end up being able to watch some of the others as well. So thank you. Fantastic.